good evening. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Already up to Sunday here. Getting up to that week before ChaserCon coming up, and we've got a little bit of a change going on outside, a little bit of mid-cloud moving into the area with a system coming in from the west. I've been working on some programming all weekend. That's kept me pretty busy. That's a little bit of that code there. Let's see, weather. You know, things are pretty weird when we've got a cold front coming in from the northwest and temperatures are above normal. See that northwesterly flow through here. Cleared out this well above normal temperature area here, but things are still above normal all the way up to the Canadian Rockies. Now, part of that is due to the trajectory of this air mass coming from the Pacific rather than from northern Canada. So we get a little bit of downslope in the Alberta area in Saskatchewan, and for some reason it's been very effective at generating warm air. So we've seen that kind of barreling south, and here in Texas, temperatures still above normal. Highs today look like this. Now, Altus, they got up to 100 degrees yesterday in crazy weather. Altus is located right here. Mangum got up to 99, and we see things have cooled down by about 40 degrees here. But they're still above normal. This is unlike a pattern I've ever seen going back to the 80s. Warm front, or the cold front, is kind of down in this area, and we're starting to get that Pacific system coming in from the west in this region right here. And this is the large-scale pattern. This is the 500 millibar flow up at about 18,000 feet. So we've got the main ridge out over the Alberta area. So that's going to be associated with a lot of subsidence in that area. Ridge is located right here, negative vorticity advection area in this region. So that coupling with adiabatic heating on the lee slopes of the Rockies out in this area right here, that's a good setup for warm weather. And so when we get that moving southwestward with this northwesterly flow, scratch that, when it moves southeast with this northwesterly flow, then we see things a little bit more mild than usual. Trough over Minnesota into the Lake Superior area, so a little bit of clouds and precipitation likely in the Great Lakes area right now. Probably a frontal system right through here, so we'll be looking for that on the surface chart. And here's this cutoff flow just off the west coast. This is this morning, so it's probably moved inland a little bit. So we'll also look for that, and a little bit of a southern stream through New Mexico and Oklahoma here. Now let's go down to 850. So like I said, we're going to start using this chart more and more as we get into spring. Isobar gradient or isotherm gradient looking like that. Pretty good temperature difference, 21 there at Fort Worth versus 2 at Topeka, -2 at Omaha. That's a pretty good contrast there. So we're looking at the leading edge of that 850 millibar cold front looking like this. And that probably extends all the way up to Lake Erie. And from there, I guess we're probably coming up as a warm front in the New York City to Scranton area. So there you go. There's your 850 front. So essentially New York City to Buffalo, down to Cincinnati, around Memphis, and southern Oklahoma. And looks like there may be a little bit of a warm front up in this area. And once we get onto this area, remember, 850 millibars intersects the ground, so you probably have to switch to 700 or thickness to really see what's going on there. Here's the next system heading this way. This is the water vapor imagery. And you can see we're losing a lot of the good moisture feed from the tropics. The Pineapple Express is not looking quite as potent. But what moisture we have had moving to California and Arizona and swirl around, we can definitely see that back in the Four Corners area right here. So lots of mid and high cloud in this area right here, and that's kind of moving around cyclonically like that. And this is the water vapor imagery. Let's run this back to the current data, and you can see we don't have any of that very strong purple indicating like a big moisture plume. What we have is more of this dark green, just kind of a very isolated area of very strong moisture right there. So this kind of backs up that we're kind of getting cut off from the Pacific flow, and low-level flow from the north in that area also. So we're actually starting to pick up more Gulf and Caribbean air moving up from Texas into Texas right there. So that is actually what's going to become a factor in the next couple of days, associating this moisture field with that system coming out of Arizona. So we'll take a look at the thermal field. There's our cold pool over northern Baja California, pretty much just south of Tijuana. A little bit of a thermal gradient out ahead of it, so we might put a little cold front just south of Columbus, New Mexico, out in this area here. And then we carry that into Texas as maybe a stationary front, kind of like that. And then that connects back up to our main Atlantic system right here. So that's moving through North Carolina, Atlanta. So you can see there's a bit of a difference there between the 850 front position and the surface front position. At 850, I'll draw that in. We'll draw that in orange. We had that from New York City to around Buffalo down to Cincinnati and around through here. Now, that 850 millibar chart was at 12Z. So that's probably moved forward a little bit, maybe something like that. But we can still kind of take that into account as we do the soundings. And there's that little front that we were looking at up in Manitoba and Saskatchewan. Out west of that, very warm downslope air. Okay, what do soundings look like across Texas? Well, we know that the front has come through Fort Worth. So we've got the 0Z sounding right here. We can see that there is an air mass difference, definitely. And one reflection of that is that increased moisture right here. Also, it looks like there is a bit of a subsidence inversion here. Probably this very warm layer. Let's see how warm this is. 700 millibars, looking at 12 to 13 Celsius. Very capped there. So this is probably some subsident air from the mid-levels, coupling with very cool air, mildly cool air in the low levels here. So I think without this tropical air, we would have a sounding that looked a little bit more like this. So definitely a loaded gun. And then we've seen just kind of a very mild cool down. So we end up with this. And then this very dry adiabatic lapse rate, that's going to indicate a lot of air mass modification going on right there. So that air mass coming out of Kansas and Oklahoma, warming up as it passes over the higher terrain of North Texas there. Further north up in Springfield, Missouri, you can see that the column is a little bit cooler near the lower levels. And we'll take a look at one more sounding. We'll try Amarillo. They're going to be back in some of that cold air too. And there's that cold air right there. A little bit of mid-level moisture starting to get started over the Rockies right there. And that's associated with that moisture plume that we saw here earlier. Okay. Before we head into the dynamics, we'll take a quick look at the chat here. I know our schedule has been kind of erratic. We were supposed to meet up with some family friends. We're kind of arranging like caretaker stuff with our neighbor here while I'm in Denver this weekend. So we're getting that all set up, and I think we'll be back to the normal schedule tomorrow. Okay, we got Andrew here, Ron Chalfont in Southern California, Alexi checking in, Kevin, Sue M is here, Brett Dean, weather radio flashing high winds in southern New Jersey. Overnight hours until tomorrow, winds may exceed severe limits of 58. Pittsburgh experiencing severe weather. Okay, yeah, we'll check that out on the charts there. Ron mentions Oroville Dam being evacuated due to erosion of emergency release spillway erosion. Okay, that's pretty serious there. We should bring up where Oroville is because that's been in the news. And for some reason, I'm thinking that's in northwestern or northeastern California, but I'm probably wrong on that. Okay, so Google Maps takes us to a loading page. Okay, yeah, north of Sacramento there. So that's around Beale Air Force Base, Marysville. Just the Sierra Nevada located right here. So I guess they're getting a whole lot of runoff from that region right there. And let's see what the dam looks like. It's not a very good picture there. Actually, yeah, there we go. I'm guessing that's the dam right there. So anyway, that's in the news right there. Lots of rain hitting Northern California. And I believe there's probably some more on the way. Brett Dean also here. Sarah Wood, heard about the dam site. Mark Davis is here. Sarah Wood there in Indiana. Sky's clear. A few fractocumulus, very windy with gusts to 40. Yeah, I like that fractocumulus there. I think we might have to do kind of like a cloud refresher type presentation maybe this week. Those are always kind of fun. Ron said strong northeast winds after the cold core passed, and now it's calm there in Southern California. Okay, an ancient astronaut is here with 70 in Central Texas. Yep, looking at my thermometer, we're showing 67 here. So, not much relief on the backside of that cold front, unfortunately. We do have that northerly flow here, but just nothing up north. Starting to build some of the rain out to the west there. So we're starting to get some of that upslope flow. You see that surface flow heading into Las Cruces, El Paso. Also getting some of the isentropic lift started up, and maybe we'll look for that on the College of DuPage graphics. I'll see if I can bring that up while we're waiting. If you want to go there, it's weather.cod.edu. And that's going to be under their weather analysis tools, under analysis data. Isentropic maps. And let's see. Yeah, these are, I'm not too sure where these are constructed from. I think these are from probably the NAM, from the initial panels. But the best way to use these is you've got a little navigation bar up at the very top. These are Kelvin units here. So 280 is very cold Kelvin temperatures, and that's going to be close to the ground. 305 to 310, that's warm, and that's going to be in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So if you want to use these, all you have to do is go to the left side value to 280 and see what pressure values it's showing. And we can see we have 1125, 1150. That's going to be underground. We should be seeing that at about 1,000 to 900. So this would certainly be good for Indiana. And this is where you really have to know your conversion values of millibars to altitude. So 1,000 millibars is going to be close to sea level. 900 is going to be about 3,000 feet. 750, that's going to be around 9,000 feet above sea level. So basically this entire region right here is underground. So we can ignore that. But we can see right around here where we have 800 to 900, this is just a few thousand feet off the ground, we have downslope flow because these wind barbs are pointing from higher heights to lower heights. So air is descending in this area. But up north, this air is ascending. So it's going from like 950 ascending up to about 700. So there's a lot of lift in this area right here. And you have to be kind of careful if you have precipitation going or convection. That's going to throw all this off. This is only for, I guess you could call fair weather flow when things are adiabatic, when you don't have much surface heating. This chart is very good for that. So let's see what we've got in West Texas. 285, 1075. That's too low. 290, 900. Okay, that's getting up to about 2,000 feet. That's almost intersecting the ground here. Let's go a little bit higher. 292. Okay, now we're up at 850. That's going to be about 5,000 feet. Looks like a little bit of ascending air mass right here. So this little black pattern here, this is a cool area. This is a 900 millibar line. So right here, the air mass, the air is ascending over this very weak, cool dome right there. So let's go a little bit higher. 825 to, let's see, 850, 825, 800. Okay, this is ascending. So you see that right there, ascending. Then we go a little bit higher. There we go. Maybe you can see that a little bit better. 900. Okay, 900, that's going to be about 2,000 feet. 850, that's going to be about 5,000. And then 800, that's going to be about 7,000. So we've got the flow ascending over Texas right here. And here it's ascending. And this is where relative humidity comes in, because the air mass is very dry out in this area here. If you look at the green lines, relative humidities are very dry in this area, so we're not going to get cloud material. But here the relative humidities are on the order of 70, 80, 90%. So this is going to develop cloud material right in this area here. And let's go a little bit higher. A little bit more ascending air, and you can see moisture right off to the south. So this is kind of like the very beginning of this Texas-New Mexico system coming together. So yeah, take a look at that isentropic lift chart and kind of go back over maybe some of this video when it archives, and you'll probably have a better understanding what's happening right in that area. Okay, let's take a look at the dynamics up at 500 millibars. For this evening, this is the pattern right here. Cold core low right there over northern Baja California, ridge over Texas, maybe a couple weak troughs moving through the flow over Mexico. And so this whole area is destabilizing right there. And then what we're going to see over the next couple of days, more of that destabilization taking place over West Texas, moving eastward. And then by Tuesday's webcast, we're going to be looking at this. Kind of a broad trough over Texas, a little bit of upper lift over East Texas into Arkansas and Louisiana. So we're going to see precip chances going up in this area right there. And then we get this ridge building in from Canada. So that's going to come in later in the week. Chaser Con is going to be right here around the icebreaker time. Looks like the GFS has broken down that ridge a little bit more compared to the previous runs. You remember we had the ridge over Colorado with previous runs, and now we've got this. So we're starting to get a little bit more lift coming into Colorado, but the main system is well off to the west like that. So main system digs pretty far to the southeast into Baja California on Saturday. Comes across northern Mexico. Over Sunday, looks like more chances of rain. One of our viewers lives in Las Cruces, probably having trouble getting his roof fixed where he is. Another cutoff low moving into the area Monday. And then we can see more rain coming in from Northern California. But I remember looking at the precipitable water, and they weren't bringing in quite as deep of a Pineapple Express moisture plume coming into California. Let's take a quick look at that and look at that moisture coming into California. This is precipitable water, and I've got the scale down here if you want to see what day it is. Starting out at the very beginning, looks dry in California. Here comes the next fetch of moisture. Yeah, this is probably about an inch to an inch and a half coming into Northern California. So it looks like probably more rain later in the week, Thursday and Friday. And then that works down the coast to Southern California on Friday. Here comes the main cutoff low into California on Saturday and Sunday. And then another system coming into California, kind of a weaker moisture plume on the 19th. One little blob comes into Southern California on Monday, the 20th. But not quite as serious a punch with moisture after late this week, so there should be a bit of a reprieve later on. But look at that for Texas. A whole lot of moisture coming up from the Gulf. So I think we may be getting into a severe weather pattern here later this month. Talking about 26th through 27th. That's about 2 weeks away. So anyway, we'll see what happens with that later in the period. Okay, so let's head into the forecast and set up the GFS. Okay, there's the current pattern right there. I'll take another look at chat here, see what's going on. All right, Brett Dean reporting 36 degrees in South Jersey. And Missy Fangirl, I will be your weather girl. All right. Okay, for tonight, high pressure across Kansas and Nebraska, pushing a very weak northerly flow through Texas. A little bit of ridging into New Mexico right there. And remember, this is where that isentropic lift is getting started up over West Texas. The front, I guess we didn't take a look at that surface analysis, but probably looking at something like this right there. So this is kind of that so-called overrunning. And we've got very rich moisture out in the Gulf. That's going to be pulled northwestward. So a combination of isentropic lift and overrunning right in that area. Okay, moving forward. You can see that rain getting started out here Monday morning, going into Tuesday morning. A lot of rain over West Texas. Then by the time we do the webcast on Tuesday night, things are going to be moving east. Cold front looking like this. A little bit of a warm front. We'll have to keep an eye on maybe some severe potential in this area here, North Louisiana into northern Alabama. Depends on how much moisture we have coming northward and how strong the cap is. So continuing forward, that system moves into the southeast U.S. Get some ridging into Texas, cold air advection coming south. Here's that little backdoor front we've been talking about the past few days, making a little bit of progress southwestward. Then we get the lee side trough taking effect over the northern plains. Things pretty quiet the rest of the evening, or the rest of the week. Things getting busy again in the northwestern U.S. right there. Band of showers moving through California Thursday. And there we go. There's that system in Southern California. So I'm going to draw out the fronts maybe a little bit like this here. So another shot of rain there for later in the week for California. Things look quiet for ChaserCon in Colorado. System moving through the southern Rockies over the weekend, coming into Texas on Monday. And GFS going for a little bit of an MCS right there. I'm going to paint out the fronts like this. So maybe a little bit of severe weather potential here on Monday, the 20th, in this area here. We'll keep an eye on that over the next few days. And then some cold air advection coming into the Central Plains right there on the back side of that system. Looks like the system out east kind of splits up. You see the thickness banding right here? Looks like two groups of that going on here. So I'm going to paint out the fronts. Maybe something like this right here. And then the northern system is going to look kind of like that right there. And this is probably because they involve two different air masses. This is more of a Pacific system, and this is pulling in air more from Quebec and Hudson Bay. So those will move eastward over the week, 22nd, 23rd, and they'll kind of condense out over the northeastern U.S. Another system coming into Texas right here on the 23rd. This is starting to get way out there. And this is where we're going to watch for severe potential on the 25th, 26th. Right there is where our moisture is going to be coming up from the Gulf. See how the pressure gradient lines kind of lead out into the Gulf? So that system may end up tapping some of that moisture here as it moves eastward. GFS not really going for anything here, but we'll keep an eye on that. There's probably going to be a lot of changes with the models over the next few days. Another system moving through Texas on the 27th. And that's the end of the run right there. Okay, I think that's all I got for today. Appreciate you watching. Like I said, we'll be back to our usual time tomorrow. And remember, if you have any video, even if it's just some clouds in your area, feel free to send that along to my contact site at weathergraphics.com. And as long as I'm not missing my email pickup, I should be able to get that on. So anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. I appreciate you watching.